Challenges, like I said, most things are not working exactly as we wish them to do. But however, my own take on it is that we need to go back to the fundamentals of some of the things we are doing and apply ourselves very well. One of the things that I believe we've not done well is the processing of the individual personality, a person called a Nigerian. I believe when a kid is born, you can equate it to a raw state or raw material in a factory process.
A newborn baby.
A newborn baby. It has nothing in it. And you have to process it into a product which will be self-sufficient, capable, and competent. It is very important that we create a production process which we call education into a system that allows for that raw unit to become a unit that is productive and can now impute those things back into society. That is an area we failed. Because one of the things I have observed is that our educational system is designed to only put as much information or knowledge into the head of the unit called the human being. It doesn't allow that kid or that human unit to be to have the capacity of thought. Thought is what creates innovation. Our educational system has to be reprogrammed and redesigned in such a way that it just doesn't only give you that knowledge to store in your brain, which is like a tank, but also to allow that brain to be a processor of those knowledge to create a new order. So we need to redesign our educational system first, and also work out a way in which we can allow the basic human unit, that is a Nigerian, to continue to have inputs that would improve him throughout his lifespan. And also, we must also design where we are going to make use of each one of these units as that person becomes mature in the process of our production of him. That is my take. That's the first thing I think needs to be dealt with.
All right, there's this article from the Asian Journal of Rural Development published in 2011, and it talks about Nigeria, where Nigeria has failed. Now, Nigeria's underdevelopment is more of poor implementation than lack of development vision and programs. Policy somersault and development projects abandonment are common. Political leaders need to be sensitized on putting society interests first and committing to developing visions and programs. Nigerians need to be sensitized on holding political leaders accountable to campaign promises and development programs.
I feel we maintain these are challenges, not failure. They are processes, not end game.
Processes, not end game.
Yes. I believe Nigeria is in the process. We are beginning to have new set of people who can process some of these challenges and make that game change. The reality is this, that we have not had the management capacity at the highest levels of government.
Oh.
Yes.
Why do you think so?
Why I think so is this. You see, I'm not talking about, it is a whole total thing from beginning to now. It is both personnel on personal basis and also structural. The size of the federal government is simply too large for the competence of those who manage it. That is the truth.
The size of the federal
government of Nigeria is too large for those who manage it. They don't have the managerial capacity or competence to run that size of government.
At any point in time?
At any point, I say that with all confidence. I'm at my age, I know some certain things. I was in ABU between 74 to 1980. So I grew through the process of seeing this country go through its challenges. And I'm able to do my analysis and come to some certain conclusions. The fact is this, that the management capacity we have at the center is simply not enough to handle the size of what is before us. Nigeria is going through a major process of development, and we need to be able to break these things down into units that are manageable
now
and improve our capacity of management.
Why is our leadership recruitment process so flawed?
I believe some of these things...
Since we easily bring up people without capacity.
I believe these things, some of it are deliberate.
Deliberate?
I will say so. Because from beginning, when the British left, they wanted control of those who will take over from them. And if you have somebody who is so competent, then you can control. And as such, they had to put in people who they could control. And you can only control somebody who is less competent than a person who is very competent. And through the history of Nigeria, you'll find out that it's always somebody trying to put one person in so that he can control. Look at our government from the top to the state level. It's the same thing. A governor ensures that he brings a PA to make a minister, somebody who is incompetent. So these are the challenges we have.
Now,
but however, one thing I want to say is this, please just permit me.
Yeah.
These things will change. It's a process thing. It's an evolutionary thing. There are two pathways to development. It's either revolutionary or evolutionary. The revolutionary process is fraught with potential dangers of being seized by anarchists. Evolutionary is God's kind of process of change.
Fate.
Yes, no, it's not fate, but it is a gradual flow.
F-A-T-E.
Okay, it's a gradual flow of change, which is takes a little bit more time. But I think Nigeria is going through that. There are new sets of people who are beginning to have that kind of insight that may be the game changer. I'm beginning to see a young set of people coming into politics. You have the Showore, Fashua, all of them, although they don't really understand the entire game very well because they are not ready to be patient enough to learn. But it is still good. It pushes the system to some bit of a new dimension. But I can assure you there's a new thought process. Just as we have done in music, we'll do in politics.
Okay. Baba Isimi, you come across as somebody with huge leadership potential. And I see in you somebody that could be a public leader someday soon. Have you studied the article policy document?
Well, I have done reasonably well in that, yes.
And then you have an idea of what Buhari stands for?
I have some ideas, yes.
Okay, now if both men are displaced and you sit there, what are the alternative developmental techniques you're going to bring into governance that they are lacking?
Well, you would like me to compare the two personalities. I will say, in making a decision on the pathway forward for Nigeria, I want to see a person who has experience in many dimensions. For me, Atiku has experience in all the three relevant dimensions that can aid a nation. One, he was a public servant to the highest level. That means he has an understanding of that. He's been a businessman and he's been successful at it. He's been a politician for the longest period, more than most politicians in Nigeria. He has developed good friends across board, across the nation. I think these are things that hold a person in stead to be able to do a good job. President Buhari is a well-respected man, but for me, he's a bit one-dimensional. All his career has been in the army, and it was in the old Nigerian army, where the training is not as profound as what we have now. I believe he has the capacity in terms of integrity, but what we need now has a higher dimension than what such kind of single level capacity can offer to this nation. We need somebody who has the dimension of being able to handle our political issue, look at our economic challenges, having been a private sector person, and then we need somebody who also understands the public service, which will drive those processes to happen. So I think I will go for Atiku Abubakar.
You would go for his policies. Now, corruption has been identified as one of the biggest challenges of Nigeria. How do you wish corruption is fought?
Thank you, Martins. Corruption is a challenge to this nation. But however, I think the way it's being fought now is a bit fraught with some bit of not too much seriousness. I believe...
With all the people's locked up?
It's not just coercion and punitive actions that make a change in things like this. It's a process thing. It's a systemic thing. I just want to give you an example. If you have this your studio and you put some money somewhere and there's no guard to that money, there's a likelihood that somebody within the studio will take that money.
Will pilfer the money.
Will pilfer the money. So you must put a system or a process that allows it impossible for somebody to get to it. I believe that the challenge in Nigeria is that the process allows people to be able to access this money easily. And that is why, if this thing is there, that's why people take it. If money is just readily available and you cite it in millions of dollars as a chief executive somewhere, and nobody is guarding that thing, and there's no system and process that makes it impossible for you to touch that money, or that process and system makes it easily detectable if you touch it, you will be less likely to take it. And if also you know that you will now be pumping, which is the third dimension which Buhari is putting in place, you will not do it. The reality is that the system is porous. Go check any ministry. The chief executive becomes like an overlord. Nobody can question him. Everybody is supine. Everybody is sycophantic, even to the president. We must put systems that make these people as co-equals and people to be able to check each other. There must be check and balances. I think that is more of a process, systemic and structural problem, rather than just one single dimension punishment.
So far, the Buhari presidency has, since coming in, has put in some measure of check and balance. Some people will quickly refer to the TSA, where monies are credible to government agencies is paid directly into a single account. That is one of the issues. And then the BVN, where if you pilfer money, it can easily be traced to you and other accounts linked to you. Don't you think we are on the right path?
Yes, we're on the right path, but remember that those things were put in somewhat done by the PDP government.
But that's inconsequential. The bottom line is they are for Nigeria.
Yes, I'm happy that some of those things have been done, but more needs to be done. More needs to be done. More and more needs to be done. I believe we're on the right path.
We're on the right path.
Yes.
Now, aside corruption, one of the things that has been a real problem to Nigeria is ethnicity. Is our turn. Is us against them. What should be done to further reorientate Nigerians to discard this mentality?
Well, there's a component of government which a lot of emphasis has not been placed in Nigeria. And that is the human re-engineering component, which we call orientation or attitudinal change agent. We believe government is all about building roads, building infrastructure, paving, giving power, all those things. They are good. But you see, the human content and management of the human being, transforming the human being into a quality being, is one of the most critical things. And part of it is what you are just saying, the dimension of having that belief in your nation, creating a nation, a national consciousness out of the people. These are processes that is done by, that government should take charge of. But most of the time we spend more time on just building roads and things. If you put the wrong kind of people in any given space or settlement, they will always mess that place up. And that's what we are beginning to see. So we must put more emphasis. I believe 50% of our government should be, of our government process should be to the human reorientation or orientation in the, that is
as the case may be.
As the case may be. That's what I think is right.
But see, Isima,
yes,
there is this.
Isimi, please.
Isimi,
Yes.
sorry for that.
Yes.
There is this issue where Nigerians are yearning for a change of government. They believe that the new crop of politicians or the opposition should be able to have government by next year. And many people complain of hunger, poverty, and lack of care by the present government. Now, won't that affect the progress of Nigeria if a government is discontinued abruptly? As in, they have just spent 4 years. Why don't we look at a situation where they go the whole 9 yards, finish these 8 years, and then let's see what comes out of it? Why are we so impatient? Don't forget that China locked up itself to develop to what it is today. Why are we so afraid of pain, knowing well that pain is love?
What you see within 4 years can tell you what you see in 8 years. If somebody, yes, I said that. The way a government structures itself from the get-go, the way it starts its program, and the way it constructs his processes and progress can give you an indication his capacity and competence level. The APC government has not shown itself competent enough or capable in managing the affairs of this nation. And it is now left with the electorate to give them a scorecard. And I believe the electorate scores them very low. I think what we need in Nigeria are people who have an understanding of what they want to do from get-go and get started and deliver. If you know what you are doing, you don't waste your time. You don't waste your time. You put me anywhere, I hit the ground running. Because when you put the right people in the right places, they don't waste time. I'll give you an example. If you say, Baba Isimi, go handle housing, I know exactly how to
because you're an architect.
I understand. Yeah, it goes beyond architecture. I understand the finance. I know the industry. I know the finance. I know what to do about it. I know how to increase I know the challenges that we need to deal with immediately from the get-go. I don't waste my time. I'm in charge of what I'm doing. But when you bring a very incompetent person to handle 3 ministries, and you think that somebody who, because somebody is managed the state, that means he can run power, you'll have problem. These are the kind of challenges we have. You need to have people who understand specific areas, and they are experts in those areas. And if we don't have it in Nigeria, let's look for it from outside of this country. Yes.
Expatriate.
We must do, if it means on advisory capacity, you need to get, we don't have time to waste. If you keep sitting down and saying that you want to just be, defend your territory, that you are being nationalistic, then you waste your time. Get somebody who understands this thing to advise you on how to do it and get it done. Nigerians don't have that time to waste.
Nigerians are impatient.
We're not impatient. They deserve to be, they must be impatient. The world doesn't waste for anybody. How many years do you have on earth to live? God is giving us at the mark 70-something. If he has 20 more to you, you are lucky. So you must get something done. The purpose we are on earth is to get this, to change this earth and make it good. So if somebody is wasting my time, I'll take him out by voting him out. So that is what Nigerians are doing. The APC is incompetent. They need a better government. They need people who can manage this system. They need people who will restructure this country and make this country a place that is, each unit is self-sufficient. So it's a whole new dimension of things that we need to deal with.
Now, I'm afraid by next year, let's look at a picture where election is conducted and is won and lost, and incumbent continues. From the hues and cries I'm hearing, what is the worst thing that can happen if the APC government continues next year?
Well, if APC is voted in, we have more of the same. Nigerians will go through the process of complaining. I know Nigeria, we pray, will remain continuously stable. We pray it remains continuously united. We pray we continue sharing this brotherly love. And, it's all, we'll reduce all the rest to prayers. But I believe the God who made this place will only push us to the path of destiny. That is that path that can make that change. That path that will bring a new insight and a new capacity to make a number of things different.
You sound in a little way that you have a little bias for Atiku. And what makes you think that an Atiku is what we need at this point in time, a welfarist?
He's not a welfarist, I would not call him that. I've spent 30 years in Nigerian politics. I've been in party politics at all levels. I've studied all the actors in it. And and then studied international political processes. What is current within the global best practices is to have somebody who has the capacity to understand economic development. And for you to get that going, you must have some bit of understanding of the public service that will drive that process. Also, you have to bring in the private sector and have the confidence of the private sector which will drive that process of economic growth. So a man who has that three areas of dimension, I think that kind of man should be able to do it. The man who we have now, who is a good man too, but this man is just a one-dimensional man. He was in the military. His level of understanding is very, 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 not so high in all these areas that I'm talking about. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather go for a man who I think can do all those things that I want. And then somebody who can understand the level at which I interact. When I talk with him, he understands where I'm coming from. We need a new set of people, a new kind of thinking, a new kind of mind. Yes. This is a paradigm shift. What Nigeria needs is a paradigm shift.
And it's urgent.
What I'm speaking today is not what people speak. It's a paradigm shift. The issue of restructuring. If, like you said, I think you said the vice president.
Yeah, recently.
I think it's very wrong. You see, maybe because most of them have not really thought through this matter very well. The current situation in Nigeria is this, that everybody waits every month to collect the statutory allocation from the federal government, from the oil resources that is earned at the center. And they come cap in hand and collect their little purse and go home, and one single emperor called the governor sits down and spends it the way he wants. You see, oil is a depletable resource, and very soon it will be gone. The second thing is that new sources of energy is being found every day, renewable sources, many. Today, most of the cars are being charged abroad in terms of using electricity, and they move on electricity. Now, so there's less demand for oil. Now there are new sources of energy, renewable sources, many, and a cocktail of them. Now, your oil is beginning to be valueless. It's about time we start looking at the possibility of making each of these units the constituting unit, the constituent units of Nigeria, that's the states, to be more self-sufficient and sustainably self-sufficient. These are the things we are talking about in restructuring. That is what Article is about. That is, we must devolve power from the center down to the smaller units, get each of the units to be able to build up an economy, ensure that each one of them are able to tax themselves and earn from their taxation in a manner that is doable, not for VAT to be by the center. There are certain things that need to be dealt with. You want to build a rail line, you have to go to the federal government. You want to build anything you want to do, even school education. When you talk about there's no nation that is going through a process that
without pain,
it's normal. You must have pains. But what we are talking about is that when there's no direction, and you are still in pain. Yes. What we are saying is there's no direction. What they are doing is not. It doesn't imbue any confidence in anybody. The reality is that if he can tell me one thing that has been achieved by this government in terms of moving us forward within 4 years, I know that this thing can be done better. If that is his own level of perception that what is being done is good, it is his prerogative. For me, I don't believe what is being done is competent because maybe my threshold of thinking is higher and my own understanding and experience. So, if he believes that what is being done is very good, I'm scoring it 20.
All right.
He can score it 100, but I believe it's the process of development is both ways. It's both by leadership and by the followership. But you see, what normally happens is that leadership has to show a direction and must also galvanize the followership to follow. There are some certain things that needs to be put in place that allows leadership, followership to have confidence in leadership. That is capacity, competence, direction, vision. These are the things that are lacking. Like I was talking about the area of education. One of the greatest challenge human beings have is this. All human beings have the same capacity of brain. But the difference is the efficiency to which you put that gray matter that is in your head. And that one assumption we make is that thinking is a naturally occurring thing. No, it has to be thought.
The thinking has to be thought.
We need to create an educational system that teaches people how to think well and then also to teach them knowledge management. There are some certain things that have not been done. There are fundamental challenges in this country. Well, making Nigeria great again, or making Nigeria work again, is an evolutionary pathway. Nigeria is challenged, but hasn't failed. I believe the current government has done its own path in the evolutionary pathway. They've done it to the best of their ability. For me, the best of their ability is not good enough. Like I said, the management capacity, competence is very low. The cabinet is extremely poor. We need people who can think profound and challenge the fundamental issues that afflict this country. I believe that if we have people who have the insight and who can bring solutions that are innovative, we can get this country working again. That's my conclusion. So thank you, Martins.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Architect.